let me ask you if you've seen this movie scene. It's a classic movie trope, so I'm guessing you've seen it in some movie somewhere. Two characters are on a road trip. They've got to get somewhere in a very short amount of time. Usually they've been forced together and they don't know each other, but they have to get to know each other as a comedy unfolds often. One of the characters is doing that late night, 3 o'clock in the morning driving scene. The other character's asleep and they're driving along and the other character's totally trusting them to have it. But they're getting bored, they're driving along and they're starting to daydream and fantasize maybe about whatever they're imagining. And then in the imagination that we see in the movie, all of a sudden something weird's happening and we realize as an audience, oh no, they're about ready to hit a truck. They wake up out of their fantasy realm, swerve, the tires screeching, the whole thing, barely miss a crash. And the person next to them is like, what's going on? And
usually they're like, what's happening? And they're barely awake as they came inches from death.
True. So you've seen this, right? So I'm just checking in, movie trope scene. I think everybody's had an experience with this. I think that this represents a lot of people's lives. That's and Tony might have, I guarantee you she's gonna say I'm too dramatic on this one, but I think a lot of people are, maybe they don't know it yet, but they might have fallen asleep to their own life, maybe themselves, and they're headed for a bad moment. Maybe it's not a big crash, but it's something that's not gonna be good. And whether you know it or not, often people are going along with life, imagining what's possible, getting distracted. It could be the crash that's coming, or it could just be you missed the wrong exit and you're down a road and you're lost and you don't know where you are. That's like the lower level of it. Like the thing I painted is pretty dramatic. But I think this happens to people all the time in their lives.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm Joel Mark Witt, by the way, with Antonia Dodge for Personality Hacker. Probably should say that. We've been coaching people since 2010 in using their personality type to come alive in their life, to wake up to their own life, and to see the results in relationships, careers, their identity, and worldview.
Yeah, and one of the best ways to ensure that you don't fall asleep to your life is to not fall asleep to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, there is a tendency that we have, because all of us have a desire to know ourselves in this lifetime, to be able to express who we really are, and to be able to share our gifts with the world. But we don't always have permission to match our lives to ourselves. We always feel like we have to match ourselves to our lives. And so when we're in a context like this, because it isn't particularly interesting, or maybe it's extremely stressful, or maybe it just feels like it's always 3 a.m. in the morning when you're driving, that it's very easy to get caught up in a fantasy or to live our lives, feel like we're living our real lives through our ideas as opposed to in actual reality. And so, as Joel mentioned, sometimes being asleep to ourselves and being asleep to our lives means that we're headed for a crash, but sometimes it can mean that we're just off. Yeah. We're off the wrong path. We're living a life that isn't ours. And we've seen this happen many times with our clients. In fact, I would say it's the number one reason why clients approach us is to try to match up who they are with a more ergonomic lifestyle for themselves.
Yeah, we've identified that there's basically 8 realities or areas of life that we all have to pay attention to. And these areas actually match directly to personality type. That's the cool thing, is your personality type will tell you which of these areas of life you're gonna most pay attention to, which you're probably gonna build skill in, right?
And have mastered most likely.
Exactly. But the bad news or the challenging news is it also means there's things that you're probably not gonna pay attention to as much or not wanna build skill in or mastery.
Yeah.
And so they can cause challenges.
And they usually are areas of struggle. They're usually the areas where we feel like we're not allowed to match who we are to life, that we have to maybe fantasize about the things that we want, live in wishes, or just we don't get to have that aspect.
Yeah, and I think the most insidious part is we don't often have clarity. So we might miss these energies, we may not pay attention to them, but not paying attention to something means you're not paying attention to that thing.
That's right.
And so sometimes it can be a lack of clarity. It can just be a feeling of something is off. I don't know, I just don't feel right about something. And you're like, what's the problem? I don't know what the problem is. I need help even identifying what it is that I should be attending to get better results. And that could be in career, relationships, like I said, your worldview, or even your self-identity. Like all these things are on the table with this. So we want you to come and join us for a webinar because we want to present some of this to you. And just like in that movie scene that I talked about earlier, the dramatic movie scene, just think about what the character would do after that really intense moment. They would probably pull the car over for a moment and they would do a quick check. Okay, what am I not paying attention to? Why did I let that happen? Do I need coffee? Maybe somebody else should drive for a moment. Like they're gonna do a check-in.
Maybe I need to sleep.
Right, yeah.
And do a regroup.
Right, exactly. So again, I think now would be a good time in your life You know, I'm not trying to suggest that you're ready for a crash any moment. I don't want you to get that message. But I do want to say that we're all going through life. We're all driving through life. And sometimes we're just not as focused on where we're heading as we could be. And so I use that story to kind of bring the drama to the front of it. But ultimately, are you satisfied with the road that you're traveling, on the journey that you're on? And do you believe, if you really check in with yourself in your heart of hearts or in your mind, that you know that life could be more tailored to what you're talented to, what makes you feel alive, what lights you up? Well, that's what we want to do on this webinar. We want to identify some of the areas that you probably already have some proficiency in, but also areas of opportunity. What could be adjusted in your life that would actually get you on the path that you want? So we're going to do we're calling it vital sign check-in. We're going to take your vital signs on these 8 areas of life and what your relationship is to each of them. And you're going to go away with a little map, an actual map you can print off and fill out of what you need to attend to next. So a ton of value will be in this. We're going to explain what these 8 energies are. We're going to go deep into each one of them. And we're going to have you do a quick diagnostic in your own life. Okay, this is my relationship with this energy. This is how I see myself showing up to the world in this. And hopefully you're going to have a good sense of, man, these are my talents. Here's a couple things I should probably attend to. So I think it's going to be a very useful webinar.
Yeah, even in areas that you might have talent, maybe areas that you're pre-wired to focus on and have even gained mastery, sometimes we still have work to do in those because we're not able to give those gifts to the world.
Yeah.
So we feel like we might know these areas, we might understand ourselves, but we aren't able to have the contribution that we're looking for. So this diagnostic, this audit of our personality and ourselves with the rest of our life, right, and all these areas and aspects of our lives can unearth surprising things, right, even in areas that we have talent in.
Yeah. Okay, so your action step is, there's a link and some information around this video. Go ahead and click on that link, register for the webinar. We'll see you there. It's a free webinar. We'll see you there live. If you can't join live, go ahead and register anyway, and we can get you the recording afterward. If you can't make it live, you should be there live though, because you can ask your questions and you can fill the thing out with us in real time. So I guess it'll be very valuable for you. Register for that webinar. Can't wait to see you there. Joel Antonia, Personality Hacker. Talk soon. Peace.